Go.
Good morning, my name's Samuel Perryman. I'm a supervising social worker from Eastern Fostering Services. Today we're going to talk through the Child Developmental Wall with you. We're going to talk about the typical ages of development and what children should be doing, and then we're going to look at how that might differ from a child in care. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass you over to my colleague Jo.
Hi, I'm Jo Elliott. I'm a supervising social worker covering Cambridgeshire for EFS. So we're going to start off with the developmental wall at the beginning. The expected milestones are for children to meet age 0 to 3 months. And some of the things is, obviously they'll be sleeping, they'll be feeding but be independent on their carer for the feeding. 3 to 6 months we'll be looking at they're starting to hold their head up and starting to sit up. Again, needing the support as well from their carer for that. They'll start grabbing things. You might see them teething as well. 6 to 12 months, they'll be starting to sit up, crawling, gaining a bit more independence, starting to feed on solid foods, pulling themselves up. As we go up, 1 to 2 years, their talking will begin. They'll become demanding, they'll start refusing things, and they'll be sort of more curious to the environment that they're in. 2 to 3 years is the terrible twos, where their independence really does start to grow there. They may start at preschool, and the potty training then begins. 3 to 4 years, they're possibly in school now, gaining even more independence, starting to climb. They each start developing their personalities. And 5 to 6 years, they'll be in school. That's where they really start to develop their social skills, build friendships, independent toileting, and they sort of become quite imaginative in their play.
A question that we often get asked by our foster carers is, why is my child who's 7 years old still displaying signs of a child that's a much younger age? So we wanted to explain a little bit about that. And basically what could happen is if a child has been neglected in their early years, they might not meet some of these developmental goals. So it might be within their first 3 months, if their caregiver isn't supporting them when they're crying, then they might actually learn that actually crying doesn't get me a response from my mum or my caregiver. That can also be the case if they might not develop a consistent sleep routine, if their parents are not implementing the times to go to sleep and consistent feeding times. They might not have a consistent sleep routine. They might be left in their walkers for long periods of time, or might be left in their cot for long periods of time. So they might struggle with stuff like crawling. Again, their parent or their caregiver might not know when to start feeding solids. And as they get older, again, if they're having limited interaction, they might not learn to talk, potentially might not learn to walk either. And again, this would potentially could go on into further years, so they might not make choices because they might not potentially have the option to make choices. So as you start to see, this wall start to then become a little bit wobblier. So it might be that they've not learned how to toilet. Often we can have children that are incontinent in care, and that might be because they've never been taught how to use the potty, how to use the toilet. So what we have to look at is, although a child's age in care might be 6 years old, they might not have actually met some of the developmental goals at 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months and ongoing. So what we have to look at is ways to try and make sure that the children at the age of 6, 7 or whatever need to meet these earlier goals. So it might be that you have to start back with basics with some of the children that you're working with, but ensure that you're not doing this in a patronising, detrimental way to their well-being. So that's a brief understanding of the Child Developmental Wall. If you want to hear any more information, then please get in contact with us at Eastern Fostering Services. Thank you.
Thank you.